Hi, and welcome to Divinely Empowered with Antonia. Today we have Liam from Full Power Cacao. I know Liam from the trade show circuit. He's doing amazing ceremonies and selling wonderful cacao. It tastes delicious. So, yeah, welcome, Liam.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Nice to see you.
Thank you. Okay, so tell us all about what cacao is, what are the benefits of people who've never come across this magical.
So cacao is basically a plant medicine. So a lot of people have not started their plant medicine journey yet, and this is a plant medicine that you can drink every day. It's high in magnesium, high in flavonoids, which is amazing for women, especially that going through the period symptoms, perimenopausal, menopausal, because their iron and magnesium gets depleted. It's also amazing for cognition. Amazing for heart health. What it's doing is cleansing and clearing the capillaries and the arteries around the heart. On a spiritual level, it's a heart medicine, so it's working on expanding the heart chakra and the heart center, so everything becomes in alignment with it. So everything within the body just becomes love. So it's just expanding that love vibration. That is what cacao's mission and essence as a medicine and as a consciousness is, to get everybody vibrating and living their life purpose. If everybody's living their life purpose, then there is no depression, there's no anxiety, there's no war, there's no destruction, there's just bliss and ananda all the time. So that's the mission of cacao, and which is very much needed at the moment on earth. And she kind of represents herself in a feminine energy at the moment, but she is masculine or feminine. It depends what's out of balance on the planet at that time, which is what she presents herself as. So she comes through as quite a feminine energy, and obviously I bring it through in I'm quite a masculine energy. So we kind of have created this really good relationship and harmonization together over the years, where I'm just like, I'm full power, and cacao's this very beautiful feminine essence, where she kind of can, she's the love chemical, she's the only food in the world that contains anandamide, which is the bliss molecule. And the Latin name for cacao is theobroma, which means food of the gods. So it's like this real kind of like looked up to plant and medicine.
Okay, for someone who don't know what cacao is, can you tell us what it just literally is on a very basic level? Because people might not have heard of it.
So cacao is what all chocolate comes from. So all chocolate originates from cacao. All chocolate that you'll buy in the supermarket is basically missing 99% of the active ingredients that's in, say, my cacao or a ceremonial grade cacao. But then with cacao grows on a tree, it's in a pod. It's almost like a papaya when it's ripe. The kids just eat the fruit and throw the beans on the floor. When it gets harvested into cacao, it gets cut open, the beans get fermented, then they get washed, dried out, pressed into a paste, and that's where cacao comes from. It'll then get defatted, so you're instantly losing like 50% of the nutritional content, and then it'll go into the cosmetics industry, the fat, and the powder will go into the confectionery industry. But 80% of the world's chocolate is actually from Africa now. So yeah, it's not indigenous to Africa, it's indigenous to Central and South America. And it's amazing because, like, when I first discovered cacao, I had no idea what it was. And I felt a bit of an idiot, because it's like, well, I've ate chocolate my whole life. I have no idea where it's from. Obviously, some kids now that are growing up, they're growing up with hotel chocolate, hotel chocolat, and they're doing a lot of kind of educational stuff on where chocolate's from, where cacao's from, its origins and stuff, which is really cool. And obviously we're getting out there and telling people how it should be authentically used, and as a medicine, as a plant medicine, and as a natural antidepressant, natural mood enhancer, natural stimulant. You can really focus on whatever you're doing. So if you're going out dancing, you can go out and dance amazingly. If you're meditating, you can meditate with more focus, with more discipline for longer periods, which is just like an incredible gift, an incredible tool to enhance whatever you're doing.
So what does ceremonial grade mean?
So ceremonial grade is like, you've got all these different, like with coffee, you've got all different sort of varieties of coffee plants. Yeah. Same thing with cacao. The ceremonial grade is tends to always be from the criollo tree, which basically stems from the gereso, which is a gereso is one of, I can't pronounce all the Spanish words perfectly, which is kind of not mythologically to be the first ever cacao tree that existed on Earth, and then the criollo and all these strains of cacao have kind of come from that. You've got the forastero, so yeah, it's just basically like the creme de la creme of cacao. So when the chocolate companies do studies on dark chocolate, they always do it on the criollo strain, but actually their chocolate's still missing 80% of the goodness that's in that. So they're basically fooling everybody to think that dark chocolate's good for you, which it is, but only really proper dark cacao chocolate, not dark chocolate that's in the supermarket.
So what bastardizes it then, all the sugar and the fact they've taken out 50% of the goodness? I mean, is any chocolate good that you'd buy, like Lindt or Godiva or any of those high-end brands?
Lint's still missing 99%. No, sorry, about 95% of the natural goodness that's in it. So it all gets bastardized. So as soon as you take the fat out, you've lost a load of the nutritional content. Then every time you process it, you lose nutritional content. Every time it goes through a mechanical process, every time it gets heated up to a certain temperature. So basically, people who think they're addicted to chocolate, they're actually addicted to sugar more than anything, because that's the main thing that's in it. Or they're addicted to a flavor and a taste. Which is,
or they're craving it largely. I know that magnesium is a thing that most people are deficient in, and
yeah,
chocolate, even the bad chocolate has high amounts of magnesium in it. People should be having magnesium every day for their mental health. If you don't have enough magnesium, your synapses don't fire properly and you have anxiety.
Yeah, and that's why we get so many messages every day from people just saying, "Oh my God, since I've started drinking your cacao, my life's improved, my mental health's so much better." And it's a massive thing for mental health. You know, that's probably the biggest crisis on the planet at the moment is mental health, which is a good thing, because the world's pretty a mess. So like, if you've not got mental health, you're just numb to it all. So it's like this whole awakening of consciousness, of people becoming more aware of how the body functions, how the world is, more truth coming through, more illusion disappearing, which is amazing. And cacao's this beautiful tool to help with that process, really.
Great. How does the ceremony work?
So my ceremonies, a lot of people go to ceremonies, they're like, oh, it's just people sit around and have a little whinge and drink a cacao, or they do a little meditation and play some music. Mine's like a plant medicine ceremony where I want everybody to leave the ceremony different. I want them to expand, to transform into a more beautiful version of themselves, to let go of everything that's been holding them back in the past, and realize that actually that's their biggest superpower. So it's like, there's no bad thing, to realize there's no bad things, there's just things. And it's the way that we color them, the way that we texture them. We can either texture them and color them to our advantage or to our disadvantage. So why not choose to color everything to your advantage, which makes you powerful, amazing, and unstoppable? And people come out of my 5-hour ceremonies, even the half an hour ones that I do at like mind, body, spirit events and stuff, people are like, oh my God, like that was incredible. Because I use a lot of Indian mantra. I'm very forceful in what I do. It's like, if you want this, you know what I mean? I know what you need, like, but you've got to do it, and you've got to put it into practice, and you've got to stop letting any of your bullshit hold you back, because it's your biggest superpower. It's like, anything bad that's happened to you is the biggest superpower that you've got. It's just use that in the right way and change your perspective, like this, just this chitta vritti narodaha, this the fluctuations of the mind, just get them under control, and allow all your superpowers and all your essence and the genius that is within each individual person to flourish and blossom. And I use breath, I use Indian mantra, I use comedy. That just comes natural to me. And just let people let go. Just to be like, it's okay just to be who you are, to be who you're supposed to be, to not be dogmatically enrolled in whatever your family expects of you, whatever your government expects of you, whatever your nation expects of you. It's like, fuck all that. Who are you? Who are you? Who do you want to be? That's the only thing you need to be.
Lovely. And how did you get into this? Have you got a history in shamanism and various different things?
I've got a history in like plant medicines and um, yeah, basically met the cacao shaman in 2012 in Guatemala. I was kind of I'd been suicidally depressed for a few years, and it was kind of going through this awakening process and looking for things um, to give me a purpose in life, because I was just kind of like done with living in London and normal life. I was like, if there's not something better than this, I don't want to be part of the world. I'm gonna check out, and I was committed to committing suicide or finding something that gave me a purpose, and went on this pilgrimage for the end of the Mayan calendar, saw loads of like trippy shit happen, which was proper mind bending for me, because it was like, it was so obviously happening, but it so obviously like dented my upbringing and my perception of what reality was. It kind of flipped it upside down. So it was like to kind of start accepting that there was more than just the physical and more than the 3D, that there was energy, that there was vibration all around us, that there was past lives, all this stuff that was dropping in, which is, you know, it's a big thing to take when it first comes in. It's quite overwhelming, because it puts everything that you've ever thought into question. So you have to start processing and purging all that shit out. And then, yeah, I was in this place called Lake Atilan in Guatemala, and I met this guy on the street, and he was like, "Oh, you should go and see the cacao shaman." I was like, "The what?" He was like, "The cacao." I was like, "What's that?" He's like, "It's chocolate." I was like, "There's a chocolate shaman." I was over there for ayahuasca. I was like, I wanted ayahuasca to tell me what I was supposed to do with my life and give me direction and give me purpose. And I was like, Willy Wonka ain't gonna be able to do that for me, bro. So what, this guy was like chatting shit. And anyway, I thought, you know what, I'll go check it out. And then I checked it out, saw what this guy did with these big groups of people on his porch. He's called Keith, the cacao shaman. And it was just kind of like
What a funny
pretty
name.
amazing. And then from that moment, I just went to as many cacao ceremonies as I could, sat with this guy, learned from him, and then always had cacao with me. Like before, a few years before that, I always had drugs on me, and then I always had cacao on me. It was like I always doing little ceremonies, and then over the last, I've been doing them 11 years now. So over the last 11 years, they've just developed from me just meeting people and going, "Do you want a cacao?" and setting a little intention, doing a little meditation and a little chat about it, to then doing ceremony, like bigger ceremonies where people would pay for them, incorporating them in my yoga practice and my yoga teaching, to where now, you know, like at the Yoga show, I'm doing one for like 300 people. The ones that we do in Manchester regular are like 100 people. So it's just developed into a bigger thing. I've got a bigger team. I've got, you know, we've got a training school now. We've got the full power cacao facilitated training, so people can come and train and become part of the team, which is, you know, you get all that knowledge and that support of being part of a team. And then also you get all the knowledge that I've had over the last 10 years of how I've developed my ceremonies. We do the business side of it as well. Do you know what I mean? It's not just hippy dippy shit. It's like you've got to make it work as a business and be successful, because, you know, we're going through a mental health crisis. There's people crying out for this stuff that we've got. And it's for yoga teachers, for counselors, for psychologists, psychotherapists. It's another tool. Because for counselors, they go, once I give my client a cacao, they went, it's like I'm 6 sessions ahead straight away, because they've opened up to me. Do you know what I mean? Because the heart space is open, the guard's down, defenses are down, Lady Cacao's come in, created that deeper connection between the two people that are interacting. So yeah, it's just so many amazing things going on with full power cacao at the moment, and cacao in general. The awareness is really increasing, and I never forget the fact that Keith said to me in 2012 that cacao is going to take over from coffee by 2032. And from where it is, from where it was then in 2012 to where it is now at kind of just over the midway point, I can see it's happening, and I'm going to be the catalyst and the driver to really make sure that that happens, because Keith's done amazing things, but Keith's getting old now, and I feel like I've got the energy and the strength and the focus and the work ethic to actually make it happen.
Mm. What sort of that's all very exciting. What sort of what sort of breakthroughs have people had whilst drinking your cacao and doing ceremonies? And that's,
Jesus, like so many like people go away. They come. It's great because a lot of the time I don't often see people like, for a year or two, but then more often now people are coming regularly to the session, so they'll tell me what's happened. Like, I've stopped smoking weed, I've left my job, and they all base this on a catalyst. The ceremony that they've been to previously was the catalyst of this change. And I don't do anything specifically with individuals. I now just do it as a group, and it's like to empower you as an individual within that. It's not like I'm specifically, it's all because everyone's problems are the same. It's just a different story around that problem. Do you know what I mean? It's all stems from the mind, and it's just to get more control, more power of yourself, to realize where your habits are not serving you, to get rid of them, to get people have got rid of relationships, they've changed their jobs. A guy that was like had entities and demons with him, we pulled all them out of him, and he's now doing kirtan all over the country. He's doing cacao ceremonies all over the country. And
how do you pull out demons with cacao? Because I do a lot of demonic stuff.
Well, just not well. The cacao's a catalyst to like open people up, relax them, and then we just do that as healers. Do you know what I mean? It's not the cacao's not specifically going in, but the cacao, it'll bring things up within people after ceremonies that are out of alignment. Because there's loads of stuff that people just like, I'm not going to admit that. I'm not ready to admit that right now. And the cacao's like, yo, come on. That's the way I teach, is like, why put it off for 6 months when you can do it today?
And it's less aggressive than grandmother ayahuasca as well. Grandmother ayahuasca is like a bullet train. She's,
exactly, yeah, and that's what I mean. It's like you can either do it yourself quickly and like get on it, or go and do ayahuasca and get forced into it, and and because ayahuasca is such a massive experience. People always ask me, oh, what was it like? As if I'm going to go, oh, it was amazing. I saw these things and these unicorns and everything. It's like, it was fucking horrific, man. But actually that horrificness now makes life so easy.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. We need adversity. We need things not going our way, so we develop resilience. And then when you've got resilience, when something doesn't go your way, it doesn't bother you so much. But you have to experience difficult times to make you strong enough so that minor inconveniences don't become major inconveniences. Exactly. It's very, very important. I think that there's, unfortunately, there's a generation younger than us who have been mollycoddled a lot by their parents, and make sure, and helicopter parenting, and make sure that they are safe and okay, and then they go into the world, and unfortunately they don't have the resilience, because it was the Wild West when we were kids. We would we would just go off on bike rides and go and do crazy things, and I don't know what everyone was up to, but we were sort of just get home by the time that it gets dark, and then you come up against hairy situations. And then you have to learn how to get out of them.
and that's just going to hit people when they're an adult and they've not got the tools to deal with it. So it's just everything's a blessing, and every generation talks about how things were different, and they'll talk about it with their kids as well, probably. But it's great that there's kids drinking cacao. There's actually a lot of kids coming through now that are so gifted, that are so far advanced, and that's what Keith talked about. He was like, he was in the first wave of spiritual healers, and when we were sat with him 10 years ago, he was like, you guys are the second wave, and he said, you're going to far surpass anything that we've done. And he went, and then the third wave coming in, like all these crystal children and stuff, he went, they're just going to be vibrating at such a high frequency, and maybe that is that mollycoddledness will allow them to do that. I don't know, but I know the world's going to shift tremendously in the next 10 years.
It depends on the individual person, but a lot of them, and it depends where people have grown up and all the rest of it. But there are, and that's one of the most beautiful things being a teacher, when your students surpass you, and your students are coming up with amazing things, and you can sit there and watch how brilliant they become. It's just such an honor to be witnessing other people creating from the bones of what you've made. It's really lovely.
Totally, yeah, and that's the upgrade in itself, is to keep passing on the knowledge. It's, some people just want to keep it to themselves. I remember when I first said that I was going to train people to do cacao ceremonies, and my brother was like, "Why would you want to do that? Then people won't come to your ceremonies as much because there'll be other ones doing them." I was like, "Eh?" Because I hadn't thought about it like that, but then I kind of sat with it for a minute. I was like, "Oh, maybe that'll happen." And then I caught myself, I was like, no, this is about expansion. And actually, since I've started teaching people, everything that I do is expanded. And now that I teach people, it makes me more committed to continually expanding, so that I'm always expanding. Do you know what I mean? That I don't fall massively behind all the people that I've taught.
Well, you also, I mean, in martial arts, you don't become a black belt in anything like karate or something. You can be a brown, but you have to get to a black belt, you have to teach. It's the only
Yeah.
way that you can advance, because you learn by teaching, because people ask you questions and you don't necessarily know the answer. And then you have to sit with it or ask somebody else, ask your teacher, your sensei, or you have to work out. You're like, oh, I've never seen it that way. I've never thought of it. And it really develops your wisdom and learning and practice by teaching. It's really the only thing that can do that.
100%, yeah.
Mm.
And once you do that, the universe just gives you a lot of blessings, which is
It's
amazing.
generosity, and there is there's universal laws of generosity about the more you give, the more you get. And I know that it's because I teach. So I had this thing where everything always comes in thick and fast before I'm creating a new level. And at the end of class, I will have given them everything that I can do, apart from the ability to be able to create new stuff, which is something to do with who I am. And then in the beginning, it was just like, oh, it kind of, they're as good as me at that point. But the next day, there's more stuff coming through. And it was challenging initially, because I was like, well, I don't really want to make people as good as me, because I want to be the best. And then I had to get over the ego. Tough is the answer to that. But it was challenging initially. And I'm slightly have to just surrender to it, because there's more coming. And I want, I have to be aware that that the work that we're doing it's very transformative, and I just don't have enough hours in the day to work on people. And I want a team of people who are very, very equipped, helping all the people who are in need. And I have to make it about that, and about the mission, about spreading this energy and helping people, rather than about me being miserly and holding on to the things that I've created. It was challenging.
No, it is. It's challenging from that. From the world that we've been brought up in, because that's not how it's done. But the universal, the Christ conscious energy, the new paradigm that's coming in, that'll be normal to kids in 20 years. It's like to share.
It's normal to kids. No, it is normal to kids, because they've done studies about, they would give children sandwiches, and in the hotels you've got that silver little hat that they put on your food when they're doing in a hotel. So they would have that, and they bring sandwiches out, and what they would do was they'd have one sandwich which hadn't been cut in two, and they'd have two plates. One of them would be empty, one of them would just be a whole sandwich, and they would lift up these little hats, and invariably the children tore it apart and shared. And that is actually our true nature. The Christ consciousness is very similar to what children are normally, without being corrupted by us, by the adult population. And it is our nature to share and be kind and be generous. But as soon as we get older, we have this thing of scarcity comes through, and we start thinking that if I give you that, I'm not going to have it. Whereas it's entirely opposite. There's a law of generosity and law of abundance. The more you give, the more you get. And I notice in my life, the more generous I am and giving without expecting to receive, the more beautiful things come my way.
100%. That's the law of the universe, law of attraction. So it's just like, it's that becoming normal, and not more popular, but just known, just people understand it. Do you know what I mean? People think it's woo woo, and it's like, actually, no, it's not. And I'm going to prove that to a lot of people next year with everything that we've got going on.
But it also sounds like a lot of what you're doing is almost a gratitude practice in some way, without being too woo-woo. It's like, it's seeing where you are and noticing things and being grateful for them. And the more gratitude you've got, the less anxiety you've got, the less annoyed you are at the world. Like, gratitude is it's really useful for people, and the practice of it. And literally, you can't be grateful and angry or anxious really at the same time. You can't be in any negative state and be grateful at the same time. They're just polarized, and the energy is completely different. It makes a huge difference. So it does sound like that's kind of intertwined with what you're doing. Is that right?
Yeah, totally. It's just to be like everything. Every time that I teach now, it's like everything's good right now. Everything's good, and you're exactly, every person on the planet in the universe is exactly where they should be. And if you don't like that, start making some changes. But first thing to do is admit that you've got yourself where you are. Be grateful for that. In yoga, we call it santosha. So it's like you have this one called santosha, which is like to be content with where you are. Yeah. Whatever you've got going on, to be content now. That is the place to expand from. Yeah. So the next one is tapas, is grit, determination, drive, power to push forward. So people go, oh, it's so hippie to be content. So a lot of these hippies just like, I'm content, I'm just going to manifest, I'm just going to wait for things to happen. But no, tapas is like, yo, you got to take action now. Tapas is action. And a lot of people, a lot of like these, you know, snowflakes, they won't take the action. And then they just go, oh, well, why has nothing happened? It's like, well, you got to take the action. It's like to be content, but then to have goals that push you, but to be content all the way through that journey towards that goal. So regardless if you get to that goal or not, everything's good. Do you know what I mean? Everything's all good.
It's all about action, you know. It is making plans, but it is, you know, looking for what you want to be doing in life, and, you know, building vision boards and doing all of that, because it's giving you a clear structure of what you're looking for, because the universe can't provide things that you haven't decided. If you're wishy-washy or just sort of going with the flow too much and haven't put any structures in and any plans in, 5-year plans or goals and things like that, then the universe can't provide anything because you haven't asked for anything. So that's a big issue that people have. And then it's taking action and making steps and being brave and going and doing things which are uncomfortable. Getting comfortable with being uncomfortable is a really important thing, which I think a lot of people don't want to do.
I had an interesting one like last night. I've got a few things come up with my business and like little stretches for me, and I kind of went to bed worried about a couple of things, which is very rare for me now. And I got up and I was like, right, okay. So, you know, part of you goes, let's just see what unfolds. The universe will support me. And then when I go to bed worried, I'm like, okay, I need to take some action tomorrow, because I don't like having worry as part of me. But what most people will do is just sit with that and go, oh, I'm going to keep worrying about that. It's like, actually, no, I'm going to be proactive. I took action straight away this morning, did a massive ceremony on it, made some calls, and actually got things moving along, feeling better energetically, and then I'll sleep sweet tonight. But it's about, my thing is always like, how do you nip those things in the bud straight away? If depression sets in, brilliant, because it's something's out of alignment in my life. What do I need to sort out? Okay, I'll have a look around. That's not working. Right, bye. Do you know what I mean? You know, whatever it is, but people just fester in it. It's like, I'm going to put my jogging bottoms in. I'm going to get stuck in this little funk that I'm in and feel sorry for myself. And then, oh, it's been a week now. Oh, it's been a month. Oh, it's been like a year now. It's like, boom, let's snap ourselves out of it. Go and jump in the sea, man. That snaps you out of your funk quick enough. These are all these beautiful practices that are available to us all now that can snap you out of your funk so quickly. But it's about having that little bit of tapas, that chutzpah, that raw nervy brashness to just like, I specialize in putting rockets up people's asses. Yeah, it's like, for fuck's sake, come on, man. Like, you're in this body for one experience. What are you going to do? You know, you see some people, you just want to shake them like, come on, it's in there somewhere. Let's get it out.
Yeah, definitely. And that's what anxiety really comes largely from, knowing that there's something that needs dealing with and not doing it. That's a lot of anxiety, is just the stress of that. So when you sort of grab the bull by the horns and actually start making steps towards resolving your problems, the anxiety seems to dissipate. But with that knowledge that something bad is going to be happening, it's living in the future of impending doom, which may or may not happen. I know you're worrying about something, and 90% of the time it doesn't bloom and happy in any way, but it's making moves and going, right, well, this is a sucky situation. What can I do to go and resolve it? And the more of the situations that people resolve, the less their anxiety is within them. So yeah. It's really important to actually
action. Why be half power when you can be full power?
Full power cacao.
Full power, baby.
So I think you've got an offer, don't you, on your website?
Yeah, we've put a code on there for you, so any of your followers can get 20% off the first order. They just put Antonia 20 and at checkout, and it'll give them 20% off.
20% off, and I think you're quite reasonable on your prices. We were looking at them the other day.
Yeah, for the quality of our cacao, we kind of sit probably mid-range on price, which is amazing for the consumer, amazing for people buying cacao, because in my opinion, and I've tried every cacao on the planet, because when I was choosing the cacao, I was like, I'm going to try them all. And with my team of therapists and healers and the people we're doing ceremonies with, because for me, it needed to work in ceremony. So it needed to have that potency that it increased the heart rate, the way that allows people to blossom and disconnect from the head. So it's about oxygenating the brain, dropping people into the heart, expanding the heart to fill every part of the body. That was the main thing. And this cacao did that. And then the benefit of this cacao more than anything for the consumer is that it tastes amazing. And that was not a factor that I was looking for when I was trying cacao, because I'd never tasted any that tasted amazing. It was just like, get it down, get on with the healing work. Do you know what I mean? But this cacao, there's 2 other cacaos on the market that are as potent, but there's none that taste as good. It's not even a competition.
So, can you tell us more about your training? How does that all work? Are there many levels? How do people do it?
One level at the moment. We're waiting until probably next year to do the first level 2. Just so we've got enough people who've graduated in the level 1. I think we've done 5 trainings now. The next one is in Pembrokeshire, the 5th to the 9th of February. And basically, you just get condensed into 4 days what I've learned over 10 years. So it basically catapults somebody from where they are to 5 years in front if they just started working it out for themselves, doing ceremonies on a small scale. Do you know what I mean? But it's like getting all my wisdom, all my knowledge, the history of cacao, how to operate as a business, how to hold space, which is imperative, because you're holding space for people that might be vulnerable, you're holding space for people that might want to take over your ceremony, which I've had happen, which is, come and try that at my ceremony, people. Good luck to you.
Yes, I've had that.
To give people that energy and that power to go, whenever you're holding space, think of it as your living room. What behavior would you not accept in your living room? And if that's happening, it needs to be cleared out. And also just holding a safe space so people can. Cacao brings up a lot of emotion, a lot of tears, and it's just letting people let that flow through them. Whatever needs to come out, to come out. We teach people a bit of mantra, presenting skills, because you're going to be stood in front of people. So we kind of everything that I do is to make people slightly uncomfortable, to give them that stretch, to stretch themselves and see what they're capable of. Every training that I do, there's somebody nearly walks out because they can't quite handle it. And then when they have that breakthrough, the next day, they just smash it out of the park and they become one of the most advanced people on the training, because they've gone through that bit of I'm not ready for this, I can't do it, boom, 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 and then they've come out the other side and just boom, right now I'm ready to excel, and which is for me the most beautiful moment. And a lot of teachers won't go to that stage with their students. I'm happy if they leave. You know what I mean? It's cool, whatever. It's no skin off my nose if you leave the training when you're so close to a breakthrough. And nobody has left so far. So
I had someone leave my training because I have a textbook that tells you the emotional reason behind a disease, and I read it to her because she had a disease and she felt like I was persecuting her. And she walked out, and I was like, I just read to you from the textbook, love. If that's you feeling
Yeah.
persecuted, then it's something that's triggering, isn't it? Clearly.
Yeah, and then people usually come back to you in 3 years and tell you was right. And it's like,
I've had people, I've had some interesting situations. I had someone who had their internal monologue shut down entirely because she was, unfortunately, she was in her 30s and she'd had a breakup, and she was very, very traumatized by it, to the point where she was drinking and getting in thought she was getting in an Uber, and she got in some random guy's car. She was destructive and sort of sitting and sobbing, and not able to leave her house, and having a very, very strong reaction, especially for someone in their 30s. It was more, I think we all did that in younger years, but hopefully not so much when you're a bit older. She was distraught and barely came out of the house, and then she just pleaded that the negative thoughts would stop. So I managed to pull all of that out of her, and then she was very upset about it because she didn't recognize herself, because the internal chatter that she'd had, the self-deprecating thoughts, wasn't there anymore, and she didn't feel like herself. And it was really interesting. She goes, I don't feel like me. And I said, well, what's happened? She goes, well, I'm not reacting the same way I did about my grandmother's passing. And I said, what is it? And I said, well, what happened? She goes, well, my grandmother passed 2 years ago, and every time someone mentioned her name, I would burst into tears, and now I'm not, and I don't like it. And I was like, you shouldn't be bursting into tears.
I'm so sad that my sadness is gone.
It was really, she goes, I'm just not myself. And she was really troubled by it. And I had to do, quite a lot of talking to her afterwards. And I said, you're winning. It was very strange for me. Like, you don't have your anxiety, and that's making you anxious. It was very odd.
There's just thousands of years of bullshit programming that's got to get pulled out of people in the next 10 years. Otherwise, they're not going to be able to cross over into the new frequency, which is going to be interesting. But it's all super simple when you actually get down to it. It's like, get rid of all your crap stories that are preventing you, holding you back, and create magical stories that will get you towards your dreams and goals. That's it, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and whichever way, I like, and the reason I like to have my show is I want to give people opportunities to do this work in whatever way suits them. Like, I've got one way, which I think is bloody brilliant, but I also think there are other ways of doing it. Your way is brilliant and will resonate with some people. My way will resonate with other people. It depends where what people want to do and how they want to approach things. But I just want to offer people different ways of really clearing out their crap.
Oh, yeah. And that's what we do with the training as well. Is I'm like pivotally focused on each person that comes and trains with me. It's like, you're not here to do a Liam Browne cacao ceremony. You're here to do whatever your cacao ceremony is. I want to find within you what's your USP. What's your cacao ceremony look like? I'm just giving you a framework to work around and be creative around, to actually, it's kind of stabilizers for them first couple of years. It's like, oh, well, I've trained with Liam and Paulina, and I've got this foundation, which actually I'm going to grow from now and become my own flower. You know what I mean? So
that's also important, because people, I have the same with my sessions. Like, I have a session plan for my practitioners, but you don't follow it my sessions change according to what the person needs. And so you've got to be thinking on your feet. Also, I've got, amazing practitioners. Some of them are medical doctors. I've got nurses, doctors, Chinese doctors. They've all got a lot of wisdom and know-how that I don't have. So they're bringing their life experience and training to our sessions. So it would be foolish for me not to utilize that, and for them to bring out the qualities that they've got. And I think the same is for you. You don't want to, and it's very rigid to actually have to do step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I don't think that's what we're going into. It's less structured. It's more flow.
Yeah, totally. That's what we're doing. That's why when we come to the trainings now, we have to change the way we teach a little bit, just to make it, because when we're in ceremony, we just go with whatever the energy, whatever the room's saying. I might do something totally different. I might do something I've never done before. It's just to be, once you're in your flow and you're confident, you can allow things like that to happen. But when you're starting off, you want to have that little safety blanket. And so you can start expanding from that, which is nice.
So do you think cacao is confidence boosting?
100%, 100%, yeah. Again, just messages that I get off people, just about how they feel more powerful. I think it's power as well. Do you know what I mean? It's like they feel this inner. A lot of people describe it as they feel like they've got a really supportive friend with them all the time when they start drinking it daily. And some people drink it. We drink it twice a day. A lot of our customers drink it twice a day, one in the morning, one like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Some people that I know drink it before they go to bed, but I can't because it stimulates me. But yeah, I feel more confident when I've drank cacao, definitely.
And it gives you energy as well, does it? So that's why that, you know, you
Yeah.
were talking about coffee earlier. So how does it compare to coffee if people were going to be drinking it in the morning to get themselves going?
So my favorite analogy is, do you know when you go to a wedding and you've got an Uncle Dickhead and you've got a really nice uncle? Your Uncle Dickhead is coffee and your really nice uncle's cacao. So coffee is tapping you into your sympathetic nervous system, which puts you into your fight and flight response network, which makes you a little bit jittery, a little bit anxious. It's like, I'm going, but I'm kind of not really there, focused and calm, but I'm just going for it. Do you know what I mean? Which is how the 3D world wants us to be, how the government wants us to be, how the corporate world wants us to be. So it's like swimming in a sea of razor blades is coffee. And then cacao taps us into the parasympathetic nervous system, allows us to be calm, creative, and inspired and focused on whatever we're doing, and is like floating on a cloud and being given a beautiful cuddle at the same time.
But also energizing.
But also energizing. So it's focused, but it's people think energizing, but it's focus. It's like it gives you energy for whatever you need to do. So it gives you the focused energy to be able to meditate for 4 or 5 hours. Because people come to my ceremonies, they go, I can't believe I've just sat still for 3.5, 4 hours when I can't meditate for 5 hours. And it's like, no, because we put you into the safe space, we've guided you in, the cacao's there supporting you, giving you that focus. But then if you want to drink cacao and go out dancing, it's incredible. Do you know what I mean? It's a great way to connect, a great way to go out dancing, you know, all ecstatic dance things, 5 rhythms, they all are serving cacao at their events now. I know we've got one called, I think it's Ecstatic Dance Yorkshire, and they buy a hell of a lot of cacao off us, so they must be getting a lot of people dancing in Yorkshire.
Beautiful. So if people want to, do you do any ceremonies online? Are they all in person? When's your next ceremony? How do people kind of get involved?
Yeah, we're having our second birthday party for Full Power Cacao in Manchester on the 9th of December. I think there's only a few tickets left for the daytime bit, but we've got quite a few musicians coming in the evening, so we've opened up like an evening section as well. Some amazing DJs, amazing like spoken word, kind of like rap sort of grime drill artists, like poets. Who's amazing, a guy called Mr. Auden Allen, who I saw at a festival over the summer. I was like, oh my God, this guy's incredible. He's like proper urban, proper like what I used to be into as a kid, but super positive, super high vibrations on what he talks about and stuff. And then I love drum and bass. So there's a couple of drum and bass DJs in the evening. So it's ceremony from like midday till 5 o'clock. The usual stuff that we do in the ceremony, but more of a celebration with our graduates and our team that'll be there as well. And then we've got like a lot of musicians coming in the evening. That's on the 9th of December. And then, do you know what? We've not got as much stuff booked as we usually have because I'm renovating a property at the moment. So we've just been in Wales doing that. But it's all on the website, Full Power Cacao. The training's on the website. I go on tour in March, so I'll be in a town near everybody at some point during March because I go all around the country. So yeah, I should be reachable for most people in March.
Well, half my audience is in America. Well, I've got a lot of people in America, Canada, and Australia. So shout out to all those people. So yeah, there are some people in the UK, but there's quite a lot of.
Cool. So maybe we'll do an online ceremony at some point because they work really well as well. But I just I like the in-person ones. But when the whole pandemic thing was going on, I did one online and I was like, oh, I'm just doing it online to appease people. but then the energy was just incredible, like the healing that people got from it. So I was like, okay, this works,
Yeah,
obviously.
it's interesting. I mean, I was just listening to Jimmy Carr speaking to Joe Rogan, and the difference about being in a comedy club and how that is online versus doing it in person. And you know, there is a beautifulness of doing everything online, and you are separated, and you're not fiddling on your phone or thinking about other things. So you can be more engaged, certainly when you're in person. But then again, we have got friends all over the world who would benefit. So it's also important to make it accessible, I think.
Yeah, totally.
Cool.
Awesome.
Go on.
Awesome. Oh, good.
Okay, do you have any words of wisdom, anything you'd like to close with, anything that we've missed that you'd like to talk about?
Just everybody keep expanding, keep growing. If you've not found your genius, really search for it, really look for it, really look for your purpose. And just remember, whatever you shade as bad is probably your biggest blessing in disguise. So don't, fortunate or unfortunate, it remains to be seen. Just see everything as positive and everything as a blessing, regardless of whichever way it presents itself. Everything is a blessing and everything is divine.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Liam. That's been a lovely interview. Everyone, remember, if you would like to buy any of Liam's products, go to fullpowercacao.com using the code Antonia20 for 20% off your first order. All of the information is on his website, as well as his Instagram and his Facebook. Just Google Full Power Cacao and you'll find everything, I think, for you. And yes, thank you everyone for watching. If you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. Please click the link click below and subscribe. And thank you. And see you later, everyone. Thank you, Liam. Bye-bye.
Cheers.